All right, good evening, everyone.
No.
7:01, start the meeting. We have a quorum of the voting members. Let's see, the first matter on the agenda is public participation. Is there anybody who wishes to engage in public participation? Hearing and seeing none. The first item is on the DPW feasibility study, Joe. You need a co-host here, or what do you need here, Joe?
I don't think I need anything. I was just
Okay.
gonna talk through the memo that I sent out through you.
I sent the members of the permanent building committee the memo that Joe sent on the DPW feasibility study, scope of work, and invoices that are attached. Go ahead, Joe.
Okay, so thanks everybody for letting me come in really quick tonight. I know you guys have a fully loaded agenda. I just wanted to touch base since we were in last fall, we left the meeting. Some of the things we've been up to is we reevaluated our space needs assessments and our asset inventories after the last presentation we gave you. Really took a hard look into the recommendation of the committee. I think it was Chip that made it, on the potential uses that we had with Nahad Street and 108 Broadway, which is where our water department is housed right now. So just some historical context. So originally we advertised in our RFP the evaluation of our current site at 35 North Ave, the potential of using an adjacent parcel and up to 2 more parcels. What we found out when we were getting into it is that to dial it down to one preferred option was going to be pretty tough. We ended up actually initially evaluating 6 sites. So with that being said, we took a hard look into the feasibility of what could actually be down at Nahad Street and what we could probably get into the existing site on Broadway. And what Weston and Sampson is recommending is a change to the scope, absolutely no change in any of the funding or anything like that. And what they'll do in the end is compile a report with 4 potential layouts up from the 1 that was originally advertised in our study. So just to highlight a couple of the modifications that are being suggested tonight, a modification to the task related to the geotechnical work. This is something that we have pretty good data on just because that's the nature of the work that we do. We also have some related to the Galvin project next door. There's a request to modify the hazardous materials assessment. Luckily for us, we've been removing asbestos for the last probably decade. Different things like that, and going through it, we found that the big one there is probably identifying lead paint. That is something that our staff will do and relay to Weston and Sampson. And then there's also a recommendation to modify the existing condition survey. So this is something that we captured with our ortho flyover at town meeting, funded for us in 2019, 2020. So it was an easy one at this time to not have to repeat, since we already have the data to sub-centimeter accuracy. So some of the increases or I should say where the money would be transferred to is into the budget for site selection, the initial evaluations, and the conceptual site plans and an updated cost estimation. So what the goal is here is, the last time we were in, you heard the out of the box, could we make it all fit version? Obviously that came with a potential price tag that was probably a little bit shocking to those that heard it on the call. So what this will do is bring us a little bit back down to reality and get this project a little bit closer to what common construction would be.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Welcome.
Any questions regarding the DPW feasibility study?
Joe, I have a
Yeah,
question.
Phil. Yeah,
Hey, sorry, I couldn't find the raise the hand quick enough.
don't worry.
So I don't know, I have some concerns with this change because I feel a couple of the things they're assuming we're not going to need, whereas, if anything, we're expanding the site selections to make it more possible that we may need it. So I don't know if I'm for this. 2 of the sites are still showing 23 North Ave as an option, which I thought when we met a while ago, we questioned whether or not that was a feasible option to even pursue. So to have, those site selections still part of that, I question. And then my last question has to do with, like, how much have we paid? What have we paid them for? The last page shows what the initial fee was, what they're looking. it's been so long. I'm just wondering, like, what have we paid them to do to date? And that would be really interesting just to kind of understand where we are with this project, since it's been a while since we've had a general update on it.
Yep. So one of the things we looked at, which is essentially complete, was the existing facility in its current state, and what we could potentially put back, not expanding any of the footprint into any of the adjacent parcels. We've also done the site selections and looked at some of the other pieces. To date, I believe it says in the invoice, we've invoiced approximately $60,000, I think, roughly. What this change will do is allow us to look a little bit deeper into Nahant Street. I think we've come up with an idea that we could potentially move the fueling island, which is awkwardly placed, and it kills any flow and space in our current site now because it's right in the middle of the driveway, essentially. So we're looking to getting that out of the way to be able to have a little bit more flexibility with the footprint, and then also take the footprint that we have at 108 Broadway and convert that into some shop space. Without that, we're probably looking at either not including parts of our operation in this project or a reduction.
Okay.
Yeah.
Phil?
Yeah, I just want to say, I apologize that on the invoices, it does show what we've paid. I was concentrating on trying to read up that memo. I missed the other two attachments. So I just haven't had a chance to look at it. I don't know. I have some concerns with cutting. I know why they're looking to add scope and we don't want to pay more money. I get that. I just worry we're getting rid of stuff we're going to need, especially if 23 North is one of the sites. A couple of those items they're looking to reduce to zero, I'm going to imagine we would need. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about this. I don't really quite understand if this is a plus, a value plus to this.
All right.
I do think we need to explore more sites, though. Changing the other things is what I'm kind of on the fence about.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are we looking to approve invoices tonight?
That's one of the things. Yes, we're also looking to approve the amended scope of work. That is
I'm trying to find the invoices. I figured we'd be sharing and this memo would come up, but
there are two of them on the email that I forwarded to everyone, one of March 18th, 2022 for $8,425 and one of January 21st, 2022 for $955.
and where does that, Joe, did it say where that put us into the total project? I'm having trouble finding it on
If we approve those two, the amount billed to date would be $71,050, leaving approximately $20,000 left in the fee.
And is that going to be enough, Joe Conway, to do what we want to do?
Weston and Sampson says that will be enough to get the board a presentation and updated cost estimates completely. Yeah.
So they're not looking for any more money beyond the original $91,000 contract amount.
Well, that's
No,
good because we don't have any more money to give them. So that's a good thing.
I was just confirming that, Mr. Tarpak. Janine.
Yeah, this might be kind of way out there, but it came to my mind last time they presented, when we talked about the cost of this kind of building was going to be so high because you had to do multi-stories and so forth. And I didn't know if there's any way to do a cost analysis if actually purchasing, I know Wakefield doesn't usually like to do that, but actually purchasing land so that it didn't have to be as expensive to build. And I didn't know if that would be actually possibly a wash or even a savings. And I don't know if Wakefield, I know there was land available for all these big complexes, but I don't know if there's anything left that the town could possibly buy and be able to build something that's not multi-level. You know, building a multi-level garage, then maintaining it sounds expensive to me. So just
You're 100% right. So I think what the proposed modifications will do will spread us out a little bit. I think in a perfect world, the operation fits in one place, everybody's together. and everything works fluidly all at one location. Luckily, we do have a couple other spots that we work out of now that we could repurpose and turn them into some storage space and or some of the workshops that we were talking about to avoid that, multi-level tiered garage, expensive concrete, real out of the box type project. I think any building you have to maintain that was designed and built that was way out of the box and a complete outlier from what you typically might find is probably something that we're going to want to have to manage. So this should give us a little bit of space, flexibility to kind of find that middle ground between cost and function.
Okay, is that answered, Janine? Phil? No, John, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just was wondering, Joe Conway, with the thinking about building by the water treatment plant, do you think that's something that is a, I don't know, good idea environmentally to be thought of that way? I don't know what kind of workshops you're thinking of putting there, but that is like a water supply area, right? So maybe what is your thought process around that?
100%. So that was some of the delay in getting back to you. There was the question on the environmental aspect for both that site and if we were to do any modifications in a hot street, because it's essentially half sitting in a wetland and a flood zone. What we're going to end up probably bringing back and proposing is that if anything goes there, it would be our buildings division, which isn't into much of the civil. They don't really work with oils or anything like that. It's mostly stored 2x4s and things like that. So, and talking to Weston and Sampson, if we can demonstrate that there'd be a potential improvement, then we think that that is something that we could probably end up constructing. It'll be in the site. If you look from the aerial, it'll be towards the middle of our site. Obviously, it won't be over by the pines closest to the railroad tracks. We still need all of that to be able to treat the water and do some of our things on the distribution end. So essentially, you're looking at potentially putting a garage up or repurposing what's there into a garage in the middle of it. But yeah, that was the one driver between this whole thing, because if that was going to be something that just looked like it was just staring up, Mount Everest as far as getting something in there, then we wouldn't have went that direction or even attempted to think about it.
Joe, do you still have the original, when I call original plans, I can't even remember whether you were the engineer at the time that Rick presented a building, we got a building approved for that site. And then when we went to go build it, couldn't build it for the money we got approved and abandoned it. Do you remember that whole thing?
I remember the project. I think if memory serves me correct, I wasn't here at the time, but
Okay,
that was going to be over kind of where the old Quonset huts used to be on the other side of the train tracks, I think, if memory
I
serves.
thought it was between the train tracks and the water,
Yes, it was.
the
Um,
pines, more or less.
I don't
We
have
should,
it.
we should just try to pull those plans back out and see what was being proposed at that time.
I don't have it in front of me, but that's certainly something as we move forward on that. If we got that approved to begin with, certainly we're going to try to leverage whatever was approved there into the next piece. So I have a little bit of digging through some paper copies, unfortunately, but whatever I can find will be brought to the table for sure.
Yeah, I don't even remember how long ago that was at this point.
I'm gonna guess they're gonna
10 years?
Yeah, I think it was close to 10 years.
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was.
Wild time flies when they're having fun.
When are we doing that?
All right, so that would be one comment that just work on that. Okay, so you're comfortable with these invoices at this point, Joe?
I think so. I'll be completely honest with you. I think once we figured out that the site constraints and comparing that to some of the size of our operation, we've gotten more than probably what we've paid Weston and Sampson to this point as far as time and effort on this project.
Okay, I always get concerned with them, so because we just haven't heard a whole lot.
No, the goal is to now start to hear from us quite more, at least more frequently for sure.
Okay.
Phil?
Yeah, Joe just responded, but I have a concern opposite, that for $71,000 billed through these invoices, we haven't got the $71,000 worth of work. We had, at least on our end, we've seen a presentation. We had some pretty big concerns about that presentation, and we haven't seen anything back from them, from Weston Sampson. Also, you know, they're billing for full cost estimate. Have we received a cost estimate? Or are they just taking fees from other fee structures to try to make up for the time they're spending on the alternate site research?
I have a cost estimate for every conceptual site that we saw to this point. The one that needs to be further developed is Nahat Street, the potential of Nahat Street, and then a little bit more on the potential of Broadway. But all of the designs that we saw the last time, which albeit was a little while ago, we have conceptual cost estimates for all of that.
We just haven't seen any of it. It's tough for me to approve all this engineering and consulting without seeing any product in general. You know what I mean? Usually you see these things and you get the bills. It's no big deal. I don't know why this is just a stickler tonight for me. I don't see that we've received, that the committee's seen $71,000 worth of work. So I have trouble approving these invoices until we see what they've actually done. And I have trouble approving the change in their scope until to see what they've done to date. It's tough to figure out where we're at and where we're going. So those are my comments. Thanks.
All right. Any other comments from the members of the committee? Does anyone wish to propose a motion?
Well, I hear Phil, and it concerns me to go against his concerns, but I'm gonna propose to pay the bills. And then I think that we won't pay any more bills until we really see a final product that we're happy with. So given that, I move that so I'm confused. I see an outstanding invoice for $955 that we haven't seen before.
Correct.
No,
Okay, so I propose that we approve invoice number 1220317 dated 1/21/2022 for the sum of $955.
I hear a second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
It is just being on that side of the fence. Usually, it sounds like Weston Sampson and Joe are working closely, and they're going a lot of back and forth. So I don't have any issue with approving them.
Okay. Anybody else? Well, I'll start with Phil.
I'll follow the lead of my cohorts. I'll approve.
Okay. Chip,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Tom. Mark
Yes.
and John?
Yes.
I move that we also approve invoice number 3220330 for the sum of $8,425.
A second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Phil,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
All right, unanimous. Does anyone wish to propose a motion regarding the amended scope of work?
I move that we accept the amended scope of work as Joe Conway explained to us this evening. I couldn't have figured it out from the memo.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Phil,
No.
Chip,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. That'd be 6-1 in favor. All right, anything else, Joe?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Hold on,
Oh,
you know. So Joe, while I have you, rather than place a phone call tomorrow, since we're
okay, yeah,
segueing,
forgot about it.
till we're segueing into the public safety building.
Yes, sir.
We found out today that the fill coming out of the excavation at the public safety building, which is about 1,500 cubic yards.
Yep.
Is clean, good fill.
Okay.
Do you want it?
If you're saying it's clean and good fill, I could certainly repurpose it. If it's gonna save you some money in their scope.
It will save a little bit of money. More importantly, good clean fill. I don't know, I know the cemeteries used it sometimes. I know you've got spots for it at different times. I didn't know if you just wanted to have it.
Yeah, we can get in touch. With
Chip
the-
and
So Chris Pierce has been dealing, or there's Adam right now. He can fill you in.
yeah, so hi Joe, I'm Adam working on the Wakefield Public Safety
From
Project
left field.
from left field. Yeah, we have about 1,500 ton of soil that is classified as less than RCS1. We have characterized that soil with our LSP, and I can send you that just to prove that it's clean fill. But if you have a place in the town to lose it, there's a potential to save the project some money.
Adam, why don't I'll shoot you an email. We can link up. You could send
Great.
that to me. I'm sure we could coordinate something on that front.
You bet. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, now the public safety building. Next agenda item. Lynn, I made you co-host. See how quickly we segued into that? Oh. All right. That's unusual for us. All right. So the first is a review of the meeting minutes.
So I move that we approve the March 10th, 2020 Permanent Building Committee meeting minutes as written.
I hear a second. Anyone?
Second.
I'll second.
My mute button not quick enough.
That was
sorry.
close there. I don't know. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Any issue with approving the minutes? So approved. Okay, Lynn.
Next up on the agenda is the procurement update. Adam, do you want to take this?
Yeah,
This
you
is in
bet.
regards to furniture, technology, and security.
Yeah, thank you, Lynn. So up first is furniture. So we are in receipt of a proposal for the furniture. It is apparent that we're just a little bit under budget. We do have a meeting set up with the architect and the furniture provider. We want to get a little bit more breakout by area, and we also want to understand what we can afford from lead time perspective. So that'll come together over the next couple of weeks. We might also be looking for some value engineering opportunities here as well. So over the next couple of weeks, that'll develop, but we do want to release this at least within the next month. Moving on to technology.
Is there any question? Well, I'll just do one at a time. Any question from any members of the committee regarding the furniture? From the police chief? And Craig, anyone?
No, but we've been going over this for a while now with the folks from left field.
Okay. All right, Adam?
All right, moving on to technology. The last time we met, we approved a proposal from Cybercom for dispatch technology. Working with Todd Bowden from the town, he thought there might be some opportunity for additional savings. So for the next few days, we've put that on hold as we take a closer look at that. There just might be some opportunities to deduct or delete some of the scope. So we're taking a look at that. Unless there's any questions on that,
Okay.
we can talk about security.
Sure, go ahead.
We're in receipt of a proposal from Stanley, who is a security vendor for the town. It was over budget and the scope was incomplete. So again, working with Todd, who's been very helpful, we are looking at Todd's group self-performing some of this work, which would be a good opportunity for us to save some money and actually maybe include some additional scope that we would like to have.
Great. Any questions regarding the security and the town's IT's offer? Okay. Next agenda item.
Next
road
up
schedule.
is just a quick overview of the budget we had for furniture, technology, and security. We're still tracking within the budget.
Okay.
Next is, hold on, is a quick update on the move schedule.
I'll hit this.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I'll hit this from a very high level. Lynn, we are working closely with police, fire, and town IT to do a move of reception, evidence, prosecutor, office supply area. That'll be happening on April 5th. We're also going to be moving the police admin, I'm sorry, Linda, and that'll be the 5th through the 6th. And that is to get some of these folks out of the way for the construction project to start on April 6th. And
Adam, I would just,
I'm sorry.
Great.
although-
Yeah, sorry.
yeah, I just don't want people to get confused. Evidence, he's referring to the records department.
Oh,
The general evidence will be moved later.
Okay.
But they're in charge of evidence, but I didn't want people to think that evidence was being moved at this time. That comes later. That's all.
thanks, Craig. And I'll just add one more thing is I have been in discussion with Ben, our building inspector, about our start date of April 6th. So I think as we discussed last time, there is a 20-day appeal period from the planning board, and that is we're able to get our permit effective April 6th. We've got a lot of activities pointed at that date, and Ben is on board for that.
So this pushes our substantial completion date out to April 5th, 2023, with a final completion of June 2nd, 2023. In your packet, you should have received the full schedule from Bond, if you'd like to take a look at it. Does anybody have any questions on the schedule? Next up is the temporary entrances. Adam?
You bet. So these are the temp entrances during construction. So effective April 6th, these will be the new, as we're looking at them, page left, police is page left and fire is page right entrances. Right now, they're just overhead protection. We are adding signage so that it's clearly identifiable to the public of what it is. We will also be adding a ring camera on the fire department side so that people will have an understanding if somebody's there, they can ring that the ring camera, and there'll be clear signage instructing them of. So.
And for accessibility, there'll be signage at the top of the hill, the bottom of the hill, giving them directions on how to access the building from an accessibility standpoint.
Right. We'll provide a phone number for each department of which they can call somebody to give them assistance if they need to come in the building.
Any questions regarding the temporary entranceway? Okay.
Next up is a quick update on a groundbreaking ceremony for the project. We've set a date of April 15th at 9 a.m. And it's just going to be a quick, simple groundbreaking ceremony to commemorate all the hard work, dedication, and support of all the people involved. We put together this flyer and we will be sending it out. If anybody has any better pictures that you want to use or to make it colorful, just let me know and I can help with putting out a flyer.
Obviously, members of the Permanent Building Committee are being asked to attend.
And that's all I have for the public safety facility tonight.
Okay, any other updates or anything, Chief Scory?
We're packed, we're ready to move, ready to get the ball rolling,
All
ready to
right.
go.
Packed and ready to go, huh? All right. Craig, any?
No, I would just add, I know Adam came into this really late in the game, but he's been excellent to deal with over the last couple of weeks. We've been firing a lot of things at him, and he's been very responsive, very helpful. So I just wanted to add that in. Lieutenant Revelay and I and Chief Scory working a lot of different things, trying to get everything close to the end. And Adam's been picked up a lot of slack over the last couple of weeks here.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that.
That's okay, Craig. Keep him busy. All right.
Okay, next up is the Wakefield Memorial High School project. First up on the agenda is the review and approval of the March 10th Building Committee meeting minutes.
I move that we approve the March 10th, 2022 Permanent Building Committee meeting minutes for the high school project as written.
I
I'll
second.
second. Oop.
All right.
You can have it, Bill.
We're fighting for it
You're
now.
gonna have it.
Good. Is there any discussion regarding the minutes? Hearing none, are there any objections to the minutes being approved? Hearing none, the minutes are approved.
Next up on the agenda is just some quick feedback on the public forum number 5 that was held on May 17th. We had a good attendance despite being St. Patrick's Day. And the school committee meeting that was held on March 22nd. We had a lot of questions at both public forums, and the majority of the questions centered around what was happening with the field house, what was happening with parking. Helen, I don't know if you're on, if you could, you had any more to add to the questions that came up that were pertinent to your group?
Yeah, a couple of questions on actual sustainability issues, but a lot of questions also on relative sizes of portions of the building program. So very engaged groups of people and good questions.
We did take the chat log and we will be reviewing those as we proceed forward with the project.
Lynn, one quick question. Where do we stand with a website for this project at this point?
We have a fully active website with everything that's on it.
Okay,
All the meeting notes, minutes, presentations, recordings.
great. Okay.
And sorry, go back. Next is a quick overview of the design alternatives. We're asking for the committee to decide on which one of the new construction options that we'll carry forward for comparison with the addition renovation project and the code upgrade project. Do you want to share the screen, Helen?
Yeah, actually, if you can give the rights to Brian.
All right.
He's been our reliable screen sharer.
I'll work the projector.
Yeah.
Okay.
And actually, Lynn, if it's okay to take item out of order, I think the way we have this queued up was to discuss the green building rating system first before we dive into the new building options. Is that
Sure,
okay
go
with the
ahead.
group?
No
Okay.
problem.
Thanks, Brian. So as you recall, I think when we originally presented this question to this group about a month ago, you all had suggested that we confer with members of the Wakefield Environmental Sustainability Committee, which we were able to do on March 11th. We had a good conversation with them. And I think at the end of that conversation, we walked away with concurrence with our recommendation to pursue the LEED green building rating system, with lots of urging to the design team to also keep in mind other credits from New England CHIPS as inspiration and other ways to be innovative in terms of green building design. Tom, do you agree that's an accurate representation of the recommendation from that group?
Yes, I would agree with that.
Great. So I think tonight we just wanted to put the issue to bed formally with a vote on this recommendation.
Do you, SMMA and Tom, back this recommendation and believe this is the right way to go?
I do. So I've had multiple conversations with Rob and also through the presentations with SMMA. I feel that LEEDs is the rating system we should move forward with.
Yep, and we agree.
Based on that recommendation, I move that we approve the recommendation to move forward with LEEDs as our project moves forward.
There's a second,
I'll second.
all right? Any discussion? I have one quick one. You indicate that there are some aspects of the chips that you want to put meld into the project?
Yeah, the way you
What
can
are the-
do, yeah.
yeah.
So under LEED and I believe under CHIPS as well, there's a whole category for innovation credits, and that's just simply coming up with an idea that they don't specifically prescribe for you. And you know, there's ways to sort of borrow back and forth for ideas under that category of innovation. So it's those types of things that could be looked
Okay.
at.
And which, just to clarify for people as well, there's credits there's points that we get, is that correct?
Yes, it's a points system. There are those, the top line here on this little chart, there are prerequisites. So to even engage in the rating, you must do certain things, which is again, one reason why, you know, LEED is, I'm not going to say easier to attain, but it is helpful to have fewer things that you must do. Yes, it is a point system. The more points you get, the higher rating you achieve. But just to reiterate, MSBA requires a base level of certified for a project. And then if you earn more points, you can go to silver, gold, and platinum is the highest.
And there are points added for their contribution, correct?
Correct.
And what is the maximum? 2?
Maximum number of points in the system?
From
Yeah.
MSB.
No, from MSBA.
Oh, MSBA reimbursement.
Yeah, the
So
reimbursement points.
the reason reimbursement is linked to two things. One, LEED certified baseline and 20% improvement over mass code for energy performance and water performance. So those reimbursement points used to be linked to LEED silver, but they are now linked to energy performance and water performance that exceeds the code by 20%.
And that is 2 points, is that correct?
2 additional reimbursement points, and it is achievable, and we will be driving towards that. Yes,
And that's the max, correct?
correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, Joe, just a quick question for Helen. Is there any issue about trying to pursue gold? No, go for the gold.
Yes, we certainly heard that from the WESC. We will have our eyes on the gold, but I think what we heard from them, and we agree, is readily achievable without excess cost, is LEED silver as a minimum for the project. So, you know, once we get closer to really setting those goals for the project, we can have another conversation. And if we do want to go for gold, we'll be tracking, you know, if it comes at a cost or not.
There's always a cost. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, there's a motion for the lead in the project. Bill,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. Thank you. Lynn?
Next, I believe Helen's going to go through, or Brian's going to go through the design alternatives quickly. We're asking for you to decide on a new construction option to carry forward to compare against the ad reno and the code upgrade.
Yep, sorry, the slideshow got a little stuck here. I'm here to put before you, again, the 4 sub-options of we called it 3B, new construction option on Beasley Oval. You see those lined up here on the left and ready to go up against the 2A addition renovation option. I won't belabor this. I think, you know, this is a bit of a rehash of information that you've seen, but just wanted to put it fresh in your mind as you discuss and hopefully come back with a consensus of which of the options goes into the report. I think also maybe a caveat is in order. This is not the end of design. This is not even the beginning of a building design. This is lessons learned through the process. And hopefully we're taking the best aspects of the best option forward into the next stage. So just so the stakes are clear here. So option 1 was putting the community resource spaces at the front of the building and putting the academic wings facing the quieter eastern side toward the wetland. The plan is such that, again, the auditorium and the gym are easily accessed. The gym is up a level, and these options, some of these still have what we're calling the field house. We know now that the field house is being considered a gym. It's an 18,000 square foot gym, but there are many other phys ed and athletic spaces in its place. Here, the media center takes kind of the center position between the academic clusters on that eastern side and really acts as the anchor or hub for the academic life of the school. Moving up, we see, again, the gym on one side, the upper auditorium on the other, and then coming through to the back of the school, that is, you know, sort of the 2 academic clusters, again, linked in the middle, and then overlooking double high space, which are the dining commons and even music rooms being looked in from the top. Those are high bay spaces. And level 3 rises up similarly with a link between the 2 clusters at level 3. And 3D imagery showing, again, the on the left, looking at mainly the gym and part of the dining commons coming through. This is the piece that greets the visitor or the building users upon entry. And so we've seen a really nice appreciation of the civic qualities of these options through the process. And I think it's understood that having a piece of building of that scale is a bit of a challenge. And then on the right, academics facing that quieter side toward the wetland, there's lots of opportunity to engage with the landscape and and to make, to really use the wetland area as potentially a teaching resource. Moving to option 2, flipping the diagram so that the academics and the well-scaled elevations of it are presented to the community, seen across the new Beasley Oval. On the backside now are the civic spaces of the gym and the auditorium, community use spaces, but also all of the academic programs that are associated with those entered through the middle kind of sliver here of the dining commons space. The loading dock in these first 2 options is facing Hemlock Road on the south, and we've tucked in some parking on the north of the building. We know that parking is always going to be an issue. The plan here, again, is a bit of a reversal of the prior scheme, with academics in front, admin very central in this second option. Then climbing up to level 2, the media center takes on that kind of hinge position. And again, we have the upper auditorium and gym at level 2 and level 3 rising to the top. Massing views of that scheme. Again, pushing the gym a little bit further back. Still has centrality to all of the fields. And the academics, again, are front and center. Option 3, I think, has received maybe the most positive feedback, but that's not trying to color the presentation here. But just, I think that's a fact that we've all heard. I think one of the reasons is that the academics are given kind of their space to maneuver and be placed in a way that, in this case, facing south, having the ability to open out into outdoor space and protected outdoor space at the back of the building, and have a fairly clear diagram of the building. You walk in and academics are on one side, the gym and auditorium are on the other. So there's a clarity to that I think was appreciated. Dining commons, again, is the central space linking all of the pieces. And then moving up, this plan has a little bit the more accurate depiction of the 18,000 square foot gym between several of the phys ed alternatives and the gymnastics gym, which is currently in the program to be replicated in the new school. Again, the academics on the south side with media being really central to the whole school in this case, and has a nice relationship to where the X mark is, the double high looking down into the dining commons. So we think that's a nice relationship. Level 3, again, bringing the academic clusters up to the top floor. 3-dimensional views again, again with the academics at the foremost position of the school, the gym still out in front, but a little bit set back behind the entry in the view. And then from the back, again, opportunities for engaging with the outdoors. Option 4 is simply the flip of that diagram from south to north now, the academics on the north. Again, flipping the service to the south, which is probably the more challenging position in terms of the grading and topography and truck turning along that side. But on the other hand, we're very sensitive to the fact that we've got neighbors on the other end. And so in the option that has service on that side, we will be very careful the way we design the outdoor space that has the loading dock so that we minimize noise. Option 4, again, has the central commons, the admin and the media as being anchors to the academics, and then the gym and auditorium and other music, performing arts, those pieces on the south side in this case. That's option 4. And again, here we see the gym at the front again. And so that's a factor. So those are the 4 views, four schemes, I should say.
Okay,
Happy to go back through any part of it.
so discussion.
Joe, I think at this point, we've seen these many times, both in focus groups as well as in this group. And I think I would agree with Brian that in fairness to March Madness, that the option 3 has jumped right out into the final bracket against the ad reno from anything I've seen or heard, that there's been a little pushback. The only thing I would comment the 3 is that as I think as design moves forward as to whether the gym's in front or back and whether those alleys, but from the teachers and everything else, the STEM and humanities, as well as their central office being on that left-hand side and all together, and the auditorium and the gym being on the other side was a much preferred scheme. Kind of like by a lot, that it's not even close to others. That's where I see it having come out.
Janine?
What was I was not able to make the last public forum. What was the general feeling from feedback at the public forum as the different options, as for the different options?
There were only a couple. I think there were a couple of comments. I recall them being in favor of option 3, just because, again, the academics are really almost a building to themselves, although we're going to try to make it, whatever it is, very connected to all of it. But having that and facing south and getting plenty of sunlight and all of that, I think were appreciated moments of these diagrams.
Right. Anything else, Janine?
This is probably too nitty gritty, but you'll be able to access the auditorium without having the other areas locked, correct? For
Yes.
any kind of,
Yeah, each cluster will have the ability to secure.
you could have a front entrance coming through the front entrance still. Yeah, okay.
Yes, so at each of these corridors going out, there's the ability to shut it down so that you can be in the commons but not be able to get into the classroom areas or even necessarily back of house of the auditorium. So yes.
Okay. Thanks, Janine. Thank you. Liz Martin?
I was just curious about what the comments were with regards to having the gym and the locker areas sort of as far away as possible from Walsh and Landrigan. Like, what have folks said about in terms of traffic flow from that location to the other athletic locations?
That was a comment that we heard very early on, that there was a desire to have kind of the gym and locker rooms and the trainer's office and those things, at least adjacent to fields. But I really haven't heard that comment repeated since we've been showing the 3-dimensional imagery and sort of how it fits together. And I don't know if that's that we have different folks here in these later meetings than were before. But I think it's just we haven't heard that comment lately. I think if I were to speak for the athletic director, he would want immediate adjacency. But I think it's a matter of degree that in any of the locations of quadrants of the building, you're talking about, some distance you're going, to get to any resource. But I think, again, the recognition of the civic presence of the school and maybe the difficulty of placing the gym down in that upper left corner has kind of overshadowed the idea that you've got to be, right next to the field.
And I believe the sun exposure too was better in this one. Is that correct?
That is right. I mean, there's ample sunlight for all of the classrooms. We know from early on that the overall building orientation is not what we wish it could be, but we build on the site we have. And we're going to address, the optimization of daylight in different ways. It might mean adding some solar devices on the exterior for shading, which we've done on many projects. But we have ample light, and it's not going to be a problem getting good daylight for all the classrooms.
Liz, any other questions?
And so in terms of parking for that, so that would be like on the Woodville side, all of those parking lot areas service the gym?
Yeah, and the parking program is basically fixed for all of these sub options.
Yeah.
We're going to deliver a certain number where we have a number we're striving for. And that's going to evolve, but you can consider them fairly equal in terms of the ability to provide parking.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Liz. John?
Yeah, thanks. I just had a question, and I apologize because I did miss our last meeting. So if this was something that's already put to bed, I'll, just let me know. But do any of these options for where the gym is located offer a better chance for it? If we do get the okay that we can have a larger gym to the 30,000 square foot, are any of the layouts better than others, or is that completely off the table at this point?
We will be getting to that in the next
Okay.
agenda item.
All right, I will table that then.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else, John?
Yeah, one quick question, Brian. When you present, if this goes forward, do you also have to present a site plan with it? And have we concluded that discussion?
So I think we're looking to finalize the site options in the next couple of weeks. So we'll come back to you with a bit more information in terms of, and the pricing is going to have a bearing on, how we do that in terms of the cut and fill, especially. That's potentially a high figure amount that will bear on the solution that we go forward with. I shouldn't say solution. I should say, the kind of conceptual option, if you will. It's a little bit deceiving at this stage to draw things that look like a site plan where there's just a ton of work that really goes into that. They really are diagrams, but again, the difference between the options A and B that we had shown you before, we'll come back with a little bit more developed on that, and including the parking, because there might be a difference in the amount of parking between those two schemes, not between the building schemes, but within sort of site options. That will be either next week or the week after. I think there's not a meeting next week. Is that correct?
That's correct. You want us to meet every week? No. Any other questions? I'd like to ask Superintendent Lyons whether the administration has reviewed these options and which ones do they prefer?
We like 3B3, Joe.
Okay.
And we have reviewed them, Joe. Everyone on the
Okay.
team has seen them.
Everyone's reviewed them, and all right. Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll.
Can I
Joe, I
ask
got-
why, do you have anything, Mr. Lyons, to add as to why that's why that was the choice? Like what the pros were of that choice?
Yeah, I think, first of all, the new construction, we looked at the different layouts. We liked kind of the location of the academic wings and the way they were set up. We thought that it offered just a nice layout and conveniently kept everything together in regard to just the sharing of resources and teachers being able to collaborate with one another. I think that was the biggest, most consistent thing that I heard, Liz.
Okay.
Phil?
Joe, I got a quick question. I know these are just these aren't like final designs, but do all these options represent opportunities for future expansion? I know during some of the working groups, we had talked about having the structure in a way that you could build onto it in the future. Are all these options sort of any better than others to add in the future than over any other?
That's a good question. We haven't diagrammed that out yet. I think we should come back to you with more info on that, but I don't think that there's a significant difference how we would do that from within the sub options. It's probably adding on to the end of the bar element. We know those are constrained. So we may have to look at, creating like a barbell or something that feels like maybe a pavilion or something that comes out from it. But we certainly have a little bit of space here, including in the sort of V-shaped area where we could project out again.
Phil, MSBA does require that you have 15% expansion on your project. So they will have to identify an area that allows the building to be able to be expanded in the future.
15% square footage or 15% students?
Square footage.
So that could mean just putting another level on the academic wing or something.
Right. I like 3B. I think having the operations on the right side, having the gym a little further away than the fields is, these are young athletes and should be able to make the walk. So I'm less worried about that than maybe at first, at the very beginning. I thought that was a good thing, but now looking at all the options, like I remember that they're young and they can walk a little longer. And I like the gym.
We can't?
Yeah. No, I'm just commenting on the children. I like the gym up front. I think at one point there was a discussion of whether or not 3B you'd flip the gym in the auditorium, and I know that's not drawn as shown this way, but I like that it shows that the gym's up front because it's going to get more use outside of school hours. I would guess in terms of traffic in and out. So I'd say 3B is my choice.
I have one last question.
Yep, Liz, go ahead.
For the design team, do you have to provide any like ADA accessible pathways from the gym to the fields or from the locker rooms to the fields? Do you have to comply with that?
Absolutely. That will be part of the design inherently. And when we get to the point of, designing the building, we know that the field will be up some level from the school, most likely, just because of that kind of onerous problem of the cut and fill calculation, that we may have some ramping going up to the field level, but definitely it will all be accessible.
Any other questions or comments? Last chance. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Based on, Mr. Chairman, based on the testimony given so far, the focus groups, the administration supporting 3B3, I move that we move forward and give SMA the direction to move forward with 3B, option 3.
As the preferred new construction option.
Correct.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Bill,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Janine,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John.
Yes.
All right, unanimous. Next agenda item, Lynn, is the field house update.
Yes, as you all recall, when we submitted the preliminary design program to MSBA, we included a field house that was 30,000 square feet that could accommodate an indoor track, however tight. We did submit that to MSBA. They came back to us with a letter that basically stated their policy was not to participate in projects that included a gymnasium or field house over 18,000 square feet. We pushed back on them a little bit and asked them, could the town provide the field house separately from the high school project, meaning separately funded and just a separate project, but run it concurrently with the high school. They came back with their response that in order to do that, we had to provide a lot of information to them that would satisfy them that the projects were completely separate, both from a funding perspective and a resource perspective. Like we couldn't use the same designers, the same construction manager, or the same OPM. They wanted it completely separate. And so we started to look in the diagrams that you have been seeing in regards to that, even on the screen tonight, you saw a 30,000 square foot gym included. And we started to wonder if we could really do this connected to the existing building and manage to keep it separate. So we went back to MSBA again and asked them for a more definitive answer. And they did tell me that we could not have an attached field house to the high school. There'd be no way to completely separate it if that were the case. But they did say that they would not offer an opinion on a separate field house that was completely separately funded and built. It could be built in any schedule, concurrently or before or after. They couldn't offer opinion on it because they can't tell the town they can't do it on their own. However, they did say that we had to provide them a lot of information to feel comfortable that it was not going to impact the high school project. And they suggested that it would probably slow down this process that we're currently in terms of meeting our deadlines for the preferred schematic report and the schematic design phase of the project. So we did go back and we looked at where could we even put it if it were separated. And you see from the layouts that you saw tonight, there's very little space that we could, ensure that we could get it separated to the point that we could run both projects concurrently and that we'd still have enough parking on site for, to satisfy the school's needs. And we didn't want to take away any of the fields in order to place it somewhere else. So we were having a real tough time even suggesting a good location to have a separate field house. But in the meantime, we've also worked with the school and the district to ensure that we have provided all the spaces within the high school that will satisfy the needs of all the athletic programs that the high school currently has. And we went through that exercise not knowing what MSBA was going to say when we pressed them to give us an answer on whether or not we could could build a separate field house. And in that whole exercise, I think that, and I will let Dr. Lyons, voice his opinion, but from what I heard, it seemed as if the school was satisfied with the spaces that we had been able to provide within the high school. The only thing it seems that we may be missing, that we cannot fit into the new high school, is an indoor running track. Dr. Lyons, do you have any input from the district?
Yeah, I think, we, in terms of the educational plan that we created, and in terms of the work that we've done in the last few weeks, I feel like, PBC has been very helpful in helping us refine our education plan and also look at the best ways to add space, and to try to think about creatively about offsetting if we couldn't get a larger gym, how do we still kind of meet kind of the equity needs, Title IX needs, and additional spaces. And I think we've been able to do that. Would we like a 30,000 square foot field house? Of course. Would we love to have an indoor track? There's no question about it. But in terms of the spaces that have recently been added in the last few weeks, I feel like that may be, it meets the educational plan. And if the trade-off is we cannot get an indoor running track, I think, to be honest, Lynn, I think we've hit it out of the park, or the design team has hit it out of the park in regard to meeting all other criteria and all parts of the educational plan. And I would defer to the PBC leaders, both to Chip and Joe, to talk about their feelings on this, but I think that they have been really creative in helping us get the additional spaces that we've needed for athletics in other ways. So that's just our perspective from the school side.
And I think that if you added up all the square footages of the athletic programs and the wellness programs, we're about 28,000 square feet. So it's very close to a 30,000 square foot gym, but just the space needs and how they function, we couldn't combine them all in such a way that we could also gain an indoor track. But again, I think that all of the programs are well served with the new space program.
I would just like to comment that we have tried in every way we could just to accommodate and to try to get an indoor track. I just don't think, based on the policies of the MSBA and everything that we've attempted to do, I just don't think it's going to be possible. I had asked Lynn just to make sure that we are positive and correct about this, that she's going to get an email from them indicating that the requirement that we would have to have a separate building and not an attached field house. So in light of that, I think this is, I almost had to say this is the best we can do. And I think it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I would just add on to what Joe has been saying, which is the other interesting part about doing a separate building is it doesn't become just a separate 30,000 square foot field house. It becomes a separate building with locker rooms, which would be double the locker rooms, because we'd also have to provide locker rooms in the high school, and double the space and double the showers and double everything. So the 30,000 square foot field house would become I'm throwing a number out there, 54,000 square foot building, which the site can't handle. Nor do I think the town would think very favorably of us coming down with a X $1 million building on top of the high school with so many duplicities. So I commend the SMMA group and the design group for pushing and getting, so let's, for fitting all the athletic needs and getting them into the space that we have. And as we develop as we get further into the development, we can really tweak the spaces that are being allowed and make sure we get some really neat things out of it. And, whether it's maybe there's a piece of a track that can go in there that can take a real corner, or, have some sort of exercise, but we'll keep moving forward in the spaces that we're given to really maximize that 18,000 square feet. And I think the school will be in a fine spot.
John, you had questions earlier about the field house.
I am all set. Thank you.
All right. I told you we'd answer them. Are there any, yes, Jonathan?
Thanks, Joe. And Lynn, thank you to you and your team for the work that's gone into this. I mean, I know that you guys did sort of try to push this from almost every angle that we could think of. I just had a question for other projects that the MSBA has approved in recent years. Are there precedents where they've approved a gym facility that's larger than the 18,000 feet? And if they have, do we know the scenarios around how those were approved? Was it a renovation of an existing facility? Was it a different size of the high school? Any context that you could share in terms of the history around this?
The only field houses greater than 18,000 square feet that they have approved since their policy went into effect are renovations of existing field houses that may be attached to do new projects.
Okay. Okay, so it's not like since this policy came in, there's no precedent where they've approved a gym of larger than 18,000 feet as a new build. The only way that we would have gotten that is if we had a 30,000 square foot gym to renovate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think I probably feel the same way as everyone about this. It's unfortunate that it feels like the window is closed, but as I look at the project overall, I mean, to me, the important things is it meeting the educational program? And hearing Superintendent Lyons say, yes, without reservation is critical. The other pieces, of course, are we getting the support from MSBA for this to be financially viable for us as a community? And so obviously, if we've got to work within the constraints of the MSBA to get that support, I think it is unfortunately one of the trade-offs that we've got to make.
Thank you. Thanks, Jonathan. Any other questions or comments regarding the field house? Hearing none.
So Joe, I make a motion that we give SMMA direct direction to move forward with the design of an 18,000 square foot field house that will meet our athletic and educational needs as previously discussed in many different forums and meetings, contingent upon Lynn receiving a note from the MSBA just confirming their original letter and that things are as she stated they were tonight.
I hear a second.
Can I ask that
Yep.
it would help if we don't refer to the gym anymore as a field house, because it does have a lot of different meanings. So I don't know if it's.
So an 18,000 square foot gym.
Thank you, sir.
That's easy for me to do.
Is there a second on the gym?
I'll second the gym.
Oh, now it's going to become a talking point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Telling you've created a monster.
Right. I'm just glad we didn't have anybody in the committee called Jim. All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the motion? Phil?
Yes.
Chip?
Yes.
Janine?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Unanimous. Even Jim said yes. Okay.
That's
Lynn?
it for tonight.
All right, cost estimating update and separate construction cost components.
Oh, yes. I forgot
what it
about
says
that
here.
one item. Yes.
I'm just reading.
Yes, so we are in the process of the cost estimating exercise right now. We are scheduled to have costs back on March 30th and a reconciliation process on the 31st. We have selected to take out certain components, just so you know the cost of them, as they will be 100% funded by the town, as they'll be ineligible from MSBA. Helen, do you want to go through that list that you gave to the estimators of the components that we're going to pull out? They'll be in the construction number, but we separated them so you know what the value is.
Right, exactly. So in terms of separate information, we still do have a number for a field house, and that's a
No.
field house.
I don't think you need to do that.
I need
Okay.
to do that.
Okay, we can
Save the
tell
time and
them to-
energy.
Right.
Very
It's a
good.
Jim now. That's what you
The
told
gym.
him.
Come on, Helen, get with the program.
I know, I'm taking it out. Central offices, WCAT studio, the marching band, color guard storage is in these are things in the other category from the space summary. Secondary gym or the gymnastics gym, close to 5,500 square feet. We are fairly certain that is going to be non-reimbursed. And that is it in terms of spaces that we asked for separate numbers. But again, the numbers we're going to get from the estimators next week will include those costs as a total building cost.
So Helen, let me ask you a quick question. You said the storage closet for the marching band color guard. When you go to the MSBA, are we highlighting these areas as kind of, hey guys, we know you're not going to pay for this? Or do we let them recognize that's excess storage and figure out they're not going to pay for it?
Yes, it's the latter, and this is 1,000 square feet, Chip, so we're not tucking that in somewhere. This was a remark in the MSBA review of the PDP.
Oh, so they're going to be looking for what we did with it, or
Yes.
how it's, so we can't just label it storage and hope.
Even if it were storage, they would
We'll call
say
it a gym.
you're over your limit.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Any questions regarding the cost estimating update?
Joe, will the cost estimates show not only the total, but how much of that total is reimbursable versus non-reimbursable? When does that get broken down in a little more detail?
We'll start doing that in schematic design when we have a little bit more information on as the project develops. But and when we've received our PSR comments back from MSBA, which we don't expect until probably June, beginning of June. So we'll start to put together a total project budget, because now MSBA has instituted new caps. They put caps on both the OPM and the designer, and they further limited how much they'll pay for construction change orders. They did up their cost per square foot for construction, but at the same time they did that, they placed caps on several other things that sort of equaled out. So, but once we, get further into what our preferred option is going to be, and we start to develop that more and get our comments back from MSBA, we'll put together a full budget and show you what we think will be ineligible and what we think the town's share will be based on what they'll participate in and what they won't participate in.
Question, when do we decide, but now that we've got our bracket filled out and we have the two finalists, when do we make a decision upon who wins?
I have a schedule that we can also talk about. Hold on one second. Can I share, Joe?
Oh, didn't I? You were co-host.
Okay.
You're still co-host. I haven't taken
Okay.
you on.
All right, just
I
checking.
thought about it, but I didn't.
Okay. Let's see, we are looking to select a preferred option at the April 14th PBC meeting. On the April 7th PBC meeting, we'll be going over costs and any impact, like we'll be trying to select a site plan and any impacts that might have on the overall costs. And on the 14th, we'll be asking you to pick a preferred option for us to move forward with in schematic design.
Do we have any opportunity in there to get community feedback on one or on the two preferreds? Or is it just going to be our recommendation?
I think that in the this past community forum, we did compare the option 3B schemes with the ad reno schemes. So I'm not sure that we need to go through that again, but we do have a forum set up for April 27th.
So that can be what has gone forward to the MSBA.
Yeah, or what we're going to put forward to the MSBA. So there would, be an
It would have already
opportunity
been
to comment.
done, right?
Well, we wouldn't not have submitted to MSBA yet. We're not submitting till May 4th.
Okay, so
But-
you want which one on the 14th, so you can really tone it,
Yeah, so that we
put in your
can,
last few weeks of working on that.
right.
on.
And then for the forum on the 27th, we can put that forward and receive feedback. And if there's any negative feedback, we have some time to regroup, I suppose.
I mean, I think between the two groups that we have at these meetings, we have a pretty good representation of parents with young children, us on fixed incomes, about to retire, Joe, and and a good feedback from very varied community members. So I think we'll be okay. It certainly seems that although the feedback has been good at these forums, it hasn't been revolutionary. It's been kind of the same comments we've been talking about and the same ideas that we've been having.
I would agree with that.
So thank you for just walking me through. I get, confused with all the different dates that we have.
We have a lot of them.
I guess I would just ask Helen and Brian, have we given you enough feedback and information tonight to do your job correctly?
Certainly have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now that we know we're only going to build a gym.
Don't say only, Chip.
All right, anything else, Lynn?
That's it.
All right, are there any matters not anticipated that people came up with or anything at all?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
And I hope there's a second, and all in favor, click leave meeting and go watch my alma mater play.